Okay, now I'd like to begin with the introduction of the candidates. So first, may we have candidate Gallego give her 2-minute opening statement, please.
Wonderful. Thank you to La Jolla and the school districts for hosting us here today. It's so vital that we have this forum to discuss Levine's concerns, because it's been a source of frustration for me, and I know for many people in this room, that Levine has not been a focus of this campaign so far. But it has so much to offer and so many promises that haven't been kept. And so it's great that we can all come here together and talk about that. It's great to be back at a La Jolla meeting. I understand I'm the only candidate who's been there before, but I have tried to make Levine a priority in the campaign. Was the only candidate to march in the Levine Community Parade, and I really do want to make Levine a priority. I've tried to talk about the recreation center and a lot of the opportunities, including the 202 in the campaign, and so I'm so glad that we'll be able to talk about that today. I do economic development for a living for the Salt River Project, so my background is trying to bring businesses to the community and help the ones that are here already grow. I've been very involved with the City of Phoenix. I chaired the Environmental Quality Commission and worked to bring more funding to South Mountain Park, including volunteers to help clean up our beautiful trails. I'm one of the 2 leaders of the Phoenix General Plan, where we've been fighting for more resources from healthcare to the 202 for Levine, and was proud to bring the mayor here to discuss some of Levine's concerns. So I will continue to use my expertise and background in city and business to make sure that District 8 gets its fair share of investment from the City of Phoenix. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Gallego. Next, let us have candidate Robinson.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I think what we really need to do in Levine is to mobilize our community, to have our voice, to have our say. For too long, those who have worked in the city have ignored us. They've ignored people just like you and me. And we can't count on bureaucrats to take over in leadership. You don't need a spokesperson, you need a leader. But what are we leading for? This is my hometown. I believe it is a town worth fighting for. I was born right here in District 8. And I come out to 51st Avenue in Southern quite often. I come to visit my mom and my grandma. They're 2 people who have lived in Levine before the bust, and I understand that their services are worth fighting for. That's the difference with me. You can't elect someone who will bring ideological politics to bear. You need to bring someone to the table who will fight for neighborhoods. So when I make the long drive down Baseline or get off of the 17 bypass and take Lower Buckeye all the way past the jail, I understand that this is an inequity for our neighborhoods. I understand that if my mother and grandmother's property values are to increase, we've got to protect these neighborhoods and develop them. So I'm fighting for the 202 Loop Freeway. I'm fighting that the city will actually bring the resources and the retail to our neighborhoods. I'm fighting for a hospital so that when I take my grandmother to her doctor's appointments, I don't have to go to 99th Avenue at the Banner Healthcare Center, that I can take her right around the corner. So that when I come to take my nephews out here in Levine, I have a movie theater to take them to. And I'm also fighting to protect our homes and our neighborhoods. I'm the only candidate who talks about copper and metal theft. You know, it's not the sexiest issue, but it's an issue that affects our property values and our homes. I've convened community meetings to talk about how we prevent this copper and metal theft, how we provide the city services necessary to increase our property values and to protect Levine. It's a beautiful place, but you need a council member who will fight for you. And if I'm not going to fight for my mom and grandma, who else am I going to fight for? So that's why I ask for your vote.
Thank you, candidate Robinson. Next, candidate Rodriguez, please.
Well, I'd also like to thank the La Jolla for inviting us here tonight. My name is Luis Rodriguez, and I'm running for City Council in District 8. I was also born in District 8. I've lived here all my life. I remember when most of Levine was just agriculture. My dad used to take us in an old 69 Chevrolet station wagon, all 13 of us. And we just coming down Baseline and smelled the flowers. It was beautiful. And you know, so all this development is really part of the progress of the city. And as we look at that, we have to look at what happens to the people that are in the city and in Levine. Now, all this development is great and it's wonderful, and the communities that are being built are very, you know, together. And it's so nice to see all these communities just kind of spring out and be together and everything. So I'm just looking at how the city can create an environment for those communities. Everybody talks about how the government's going to do that, the government's going to do this. The government doesn't do those things. You do that. The government merely provides an environment where business can flourish. We need to provide security, because businesses aren't going to come here if there's crime everywhere. They're not going to invest their money if they're always getting vandalized. The same with homes. If we have abandoned homes everywhere, they're going to bring down property values. Why does that happen? People don't want to live in a place that's unsecure. And as soon as they find that, then they're going to move away. People speak with their pocketbooks and they talk with their feet. And what we need to do is create an environment that attracts people and doesn't repulse people. And that's why I want to be your Phoenix City Councilman. And I hope to get your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Rodriguez. Next, we have candidate Stewart.
Mr. Moderator, and to LaHoa and those of you here, thank you very much for coming on this night. My name is Warren Stewart, and I am a 36-year community member of our community and have served the community in many, many ways. I've worked with the city and dealing with complicated issues as we have grown from what it was when I arrived here in 1977. I would be honored to serve as your next city councilman for District 8. And I understand that there has been a division when the new district lines were drawn. And actually, as I've knocked on doors in this area, many residents do not realize that they are no longer in District 7, but in District 8. And so I come with experience of working together with leaders like Supervisor Mary Rose Wilcox, who was here, and her husband Earl. We worked together for a long time for the betterment of this community. I've served on committees and commissions appointed by mayors and other governmental officials. I've worked dealing with the district system to fight for it so that a person from the district could be elected as the district's council person. During the 1990s, I worked on the historic Martin Luther King Jr. holiday fight that changed the perception of Arizona around the world and brought in hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of economic development. And now I am ready to work with you. There is much promise in the Laveen area. You have your own name. The freeway is set to come in, and this part of Phoenix, this part of the district, is destined to become one of the most economic engines in this area, much like Chandler when the 202 went there. And I want to be a part and represent you in that new day.
Thank you, candidate Stewart.
Is he going to sue the city then?
Now, let us move forward with the questioning portion of this forum. First question, candidate Gallego. From your perspective, are there any immediate changes that you would like to implement once in office, and why?
In Laveen, or focused on Laveen?
In the Laveen area, please.
Well, I am a strong supporter of the 202 freeway, and as I mentioned, the only candidate to be at those meetings and advocating for it. And the city of Phoenix has had a mixed opinion on whether we want that, but I really want to lead in that area. As Pastor Stewart mentioned, a lot of people in Laveen are not sure which district they're in, and I would love to bring a city council office along with the councilman from District 7 to Laveen, so that people don't have to go to City Hall to get a lot of their concerns addressed, and so that we have that presence here and that we ensure that the two Laveen districts are working together closely so that you don't have to know where you are. You just have a one-stop shop to solve your problems. As someone who works in economic development, I really do want to prioritize bringing a little bit more employment to the area so that we can support things like local restaurants. I'd love to see more places, especially independent restaurants, where you can go out to eat. But they do need, it helps to have a lunch business, and so that whole system is complicated. I'd love to see more medical services, and not just at the emergency end, although that's enormously important. But I talk to a lot of parents who say, my child suffers from autism and I don't have the resources I need here in Laveen, or parents who say they needed diagnostics or all variety of services. We need the full spectrum here, including for seniors and people who need assisted living. So have a long list of things I'd like to focus on. Spoke about the recreation center, and that's one issue that's been a contest in we have difference of opinions in this race. So one of my opponents said, Why should we have the recreation center when we don't have a hospital? And I'd like to see both, so there are a lot of things that I will push for.
Thank you, candidate Gallego. Next, we have candidate Robinson.
So, the freeway is important. But when the freeway comes, we have to make sure that this part of our city, which is beautiful, and which has low-density development, doesn't become another center for truck stops and center for transit. So I will say something specific. We need to make sure that through zoning, we ensure that our neighborhoods are protected first. We've got a beautiful, beautiful place we live in here in Levine, but if we have more trucks coming through, it not only violates public safety, but it's going to hurt all of our home values. So we need to make sure that with the freeway, we continue to have the actual real neighborhood charm that Levine already currently has. Number two, we need to fund our police officers. I'm the only candidate in this race who has said, I will restore the funding for our vital city services. That's the biggest difference among us. Those vital city services keep us safe. We all know about the graffiti, the broken windows, the uptick in copper and metal theft in our neighborhoods. It hurts us, right? Because when many people lost their homes, a lot of these homes in our neighborhood went into leasing. There's nothing wrong with leasing, but you've got to make sure that the people who go into those leased homes understand the value that everyone else has put in around them. Behind my mom's house, we now have someone leasing that has music blaring at every hour of the night, and it's a problem. So we need police officers who can respond to those problems. And then number three, it's the development we've already all talked about. But how do you spur development? You can say you're for it, but here's how you spur it. When I worked down actually at the legislature, I met Manuel when we were working on some HOA issues, but I also learned a lot about zoning. And you can provide specific targeted incentives through the city that will create what we need: the hospital, the retail development, the grocery store actually north, not just the one at Fry's and Safeway. We need to make sure that we've got all of these amenities, and the city plays a vital role in bringing them. We did it at 24th Street and Baseline when Cody Williams brought that development by bringing Jim Peterson down. We can do the same in Levine.
Thank you, candidate Robinson. Next, candidate Rodriguez.
Well, my first priority, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected your councilman, is to look at security. We've been promised security, and everybody talks about security. We actually had a food tax implemented for security to maintain police and fire. $148 million of your money that was taken from you. And not one police officer up until 2 weeks ago has been added to the Phoenix Police Force. And very few firemen. So where did that $148 million go? I'm going to bring accountability. Where is the money being spent, and why is it not being spent on what is government's primary responsibility, and that's to provide security for its citizens? Every day, every month, more police officers retire, and we're not replacing them, and we need to. Why do businesses not come here? Why do we not have the economic development? Part of it is zoning, part of it is these other things. But the bottom line is businesses are not going to invest in a place that's unsecure for them. Businessmen are not dumb. They know that if they invest somewhere where they're going to have to be paying to paint their wall every 2 weeks, or replace bulbs that are broken out, or they're getting robbed every month and a half, they're not going to come here. So security is the number one priority. Number one, it's what government should do. Second is to look at the infrastructure, look at the roads that are in disrepair. If you go down Southern, in some places there's literally square foot chunks of asphalt that are out of the road. We need to fix that. That's one of government's primary responsibilities. Once you do this, this will spur economic development. Businesses will know it's safe and they'll come here. And that would be my number one priority if you're nice enough to elect me your councilman.
Thank you, candidate Rodriguez. Next up, candidate Stewart, please.
Not too far from here, I knocked on a residence store in Levine a couple of months ago, and she echoed something I've heard in the heart of South Phoenix. I've heard it near 35th Street and Roosevelt. I've heard it out here. I've heard it in the barrio. We're tired of being ignored. Everybody's talking about downtown. When are we going to get the freeway here? Why do I have to go all the way around to Ahwatukee to go to the movies? There is no shopping center here. When are people going to recognize the needs we have in the Levine area and address those. And my commitment is that if I'm elected to be the city council person for District 8, is that hopefully after my first term that the residents will not be able to say we're tired of being ignored. We'll try to tackle as many issues that we can. Economic development is a priority of mine, and I would call it comprehensive economic development in the sense that Levine has specific needs that the heart of South Phoenix does not have. Downtown has needs that Levine does not have. So by comprehensive, it would be economic development that addresses the needs of the particular area of the district. It has been said that a rising tide lifts all boats. And so as we deal with economic development, which would include public safety, would include infrastructure, include getting the freeway built, as the economy gets stronger and businesses, small businesses, others come here, we will all be better. In Levine, in 24th Street and Broadway, 35th Street and Roosevelt, downtown, we all will benefit. Economic development is a priority of mine, comprehensive.
Thank you, candidate Stewart.